Hi guys, hope you're all okay. I'm alright, it's just a little bit nippy noodles today, so I've got my jumper on. What we're looking at today is ethical issues. So again, it's taking what we've already learned about research methods and kind of put it into a more general debate. So we'll be looking at 3 different points, something you could write about for an introduction, an essay and a conclusion. So you're all prepped if an essay comes up. Okay, so what I've got is I've taken just a small part from the social research ethic guidelines. So remember, they can approve or deny any research. So what we're going to look at here is I've picked points 8 to 11, which kind of outline your overall things of what they look at and whether they're deciding to allow or reject research. So this is like a really nice way to introduce your essay because you're showing your knowledge in there, you're showing why ethics is important and you're showing you understand like the framework of ethics. So if I could just get you to read that, summarise it literally. You remember your intro should be quite small, so literally you're thinking if it was an essay about a third of the length of your average paragraph, so about like four lines really. Okay. Right, there's a few video clips that you have to watch for this one because it helps to gain some of those marks by relating things to actual specific research methods. So I've put the video links in the comment box underneath. If you're struggling to find them, just let me know and I'll email them across to you. So our first paragraph is just kind of more generally looking at ethical issues. So I've picked a particular study of the tea room study. We looked at that before, you should remember it. Now, the reason I picked this one again, I said it's really important for ethics because at this time there was no framework or guidelines for in terms of ethics of doing sociological research, which is how he got away with a lot of what he's doing. So if I could get you to answer question number 1, just what I've said there, explain why this particular research method is important for looking at with studying ethical guidelines. Then question number 2, explain how the following issues each arose. So how did he deceive people? How did he break either confidentiality or privacy? What you might want to aim in there is, remember this was a time when homosexuality was illegal, so why it would have been particularly harmful if you broke confidentiality and privacy. Any harm that was caused to the participants, so that could be emotional harm as well as physical harm, and any potential harm that could have happened to the researcher, so any ways he's put himself at risk. Now you've seen there I've given you a hint if you're aiming for a B+. Now the question will be asking you about why ethical issues are important. So to get in that top grade boundary and make sure you're linking back, explain why each one is important to follow, explain why it would be important not to deceive people, explain why it would be important to protect confidentiality. Question number 3, only answer if you're one of those guys who's going for an A*, and explain why it'd be harder to protect confidentiality in this day and age than it would have been at the time in the 1960s when this person wrote. And that's kind of taking an issue and putting it into context. Now with that one, if you are going for that one, think about kind of problems that people have keeping data confidential if it's using technology and through online sources. And finally, evaluate, explain why there is an argument that it's worthwhile breaking these ethical guidelines. Now, just as a hint to support with this, Lord Humphrey did break a lot of ethical guidelines. He put himself at risk. He didn't treat the people in his study very well. He did a lot of deception. However, his research brought to light that a lot of people who were homosexual weren't these kind of weird, deviant people that we thought they were. They were normal, everyday individuals, and that had an important part. The research had an important part in legalising homosexual relationships for the 1960s. So think about why that might justify this research. Okay, your next paragraph is looking at vulnerable groups. So vulnerable groups are any people where you have to be a little bit more careful about maybe their emotional or physical needs. So it's largely we talk about children. And it's a good one to get used to, because the next bit of research methods we're going to be looking at is putting this in the context of education. So children, it might be people with disabilities, people who've experienced trauma relevant to what you're asking them about, people who've been the victims of a crime. Sometimes it can even be being aware of like the power of a male sociologist interviewing a female, if you remember what we said about feminists. So again, I've put a video link in the add to notes bit at the bottom. So if you watch that video link, what I'd like you to do is watch that and explain how the female sociologist did not follow the ethical guidelines in studying children. I'd then like you to explain why the children suffered more emotional harm than if you'd done this with adults. Now you can see the study, after a couple of hours, start taking an emotional toll on the children. Watch specifically when the children are interviewed about how they're feeling and how much it's upset them quite quickly on the playground. So use that as your evidence to that question. Then finally, you could explain what might limit harm to vulnerable groups you want to do in a study. So with that, you could talk about getting the children to debrief afterwards about how it made them feel. You could talk about offering support afterwards. Or you could even say, if you are interviewing people who have gone through maybe they've been a victim of crime or abuse, that you could be that person that offers them that level of support afterwards. Okay, next one, we want to talk about a specific type of research, and this is covert observation. So covert observation is probably the research method where you're breaking the most ethical guidelines. So what I would like you to do is use your knowledge of covert observation to identify any harm or potential harm that could be given to participants, and any ethical harm that could come to